Hello, my name is Gerardo Miguel Contreras Recinos. I am 27 years old and this is my fourth year at Universidad Tecnológica de El Salvador. I am coursing English Language Major. Today I'm going to talk about one of the greatest mysteries in North American history, the civilization known as the Anasazi, also called the ancestral Pueblo people. When most people think about ancient civilization, they usually imagine Egypt, Greece, or the Mayan. But in the United States, long before modern cities existed, the Anasazi were building villages, temples, and entire communities carved into cliffs. The National Park Service says the Anasazi lived in the Four Corners region of the southwest United States, which includes Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado. This already makes them interesting because they managed to survive and build permanent homes in one of the driest and most extreme environments in North America. The Anasazi lived between about 100 BCE and 1300 CE, meaning they existed for more than 1,000 years. During this long period of time, they developed farming systems, stone architecture, religious centers, and trade networks, all without modern tools or techniques. One of the most amazing things about them is their architecture. The Smithsonian Magazine establishes that the Anasazis were master builders who used stone, mud, and wood to build multi-story homes that could last hundreds of years. Some of these homes were built high into cliffs, which still shock visitors today. About one of the most famous sites, we can highlight, for example, Mesa Verde, which contains some of the most well-preserved ancient buildings in North America. Even after hundreds of years, their homes are still standing. And yet, despite their intelligence, their skills, and their long history, something strange happened. According to the National Park Service, by the year 1300, nearly all Anasazi settlements were abandoned. The entire village were left empty. Homes still stood, but no one lived in them anymore. This leads to the question we will explore in this video. Why did they move into cliffs? Why did they leave their homes behind? And what really happened to the Anasazi? Today, I will walk you through who they were, the mysteries surrounding their disappearance, the theories historians have proposed, and finally, the explanation I personally believe makes the most sense. The region where they live is known as Four Corners because all the four states meet at one point. The ancestral Pueblo people lived in this area for over 1,000 years and built permanent villages instead of moving constantly like nomadic tribes. These people were farmers, not wanderers. During this time of between 100 BC and 1300 CE, they became more complex and their architecture became more advanced. The National Park Service highlights how they built their village. These were made of stone and clay, called pueblos. Many of these pueblos had several floors and sometimes hundreds of rooms. They also built underground ceremonial rooms called kivas, which were used for religious rituals and meetings. The National Park Services also mentioned that These kivas were important spiritual centers for their community life. According to the Smithsonian magazine, their buildings were carefully designed to control temperature. Stone walls kept homes cool in the summer and warm in the winter. They grew crops such as corn, beans, and squash, which together are called Three Sisters because they grow well together and keep the soil healthy. They also hunted animals like deer and rabbit and made tools, baskets, and pottery. They used to trade turquoise, shells, and pottery across long distances, showing that they did not live in isolation. One of the most famous Anasazi settlements is Mesa Verde, located in the modern-day Colorado. UNESCO says Mesa Verde contains some of the best preserved ancient buildings in North America and is recognized as a World Heritage Site. Around the year 1150 CE, the Anasazi began building homes in cliffs instead of on open ground. These cliff dwellings were made of stone, blocks, and mud mortar, and had ladders instead of staircase. Sometimes had more than 150 rooms. These cliff dwellings were among the most impressive architectural achievements of Latin American history. One famous dwelling called Cliff Palace had more than 150 rooms and 23 kivas. It could have held more than 100 people inside. According to the Smithsonian magazine, one possible reason was defense. Being high off the ground made it easier to protect themselves from enemies. Another explanation relates to cliff. National Geographic says that cliff homes provided shade during hot summers and natural insulation in cold weather. Some scholars think religion played a role. The book Dynamics of Southwest Prehistory says that architecture may reflect spiritual or cultural change and not just survival needs. This suggests cliff dwelling may have had symbolic meaning, not just practical use. Despite all the research, no one knows the real reason for sure. By the year 1300 CE, almost all Anasazi villages were abandoned. Entire settlements were left empty. This is not because the people disappeared suddenly. There are different theories. One major theory is drought. The National Oceanic Atmosphere Administration says that tree-ring studies show that a long drought struck the region in the late 1200s. Without water, crops failed. Without crops, people starved. Another theory is environmental damage. Jared Diamond, in his book The Collapse, says that when people overuse land and cut down too many trees, soil becomes weak and food production becomes impossible. This may have happened to the Anasazi. A third theory is violence and social conflict. A study in Scientific Archaeology Journal says some villages show signs of destruction and murder. Another theory is migration. The Utah History Encyclopedia says that Anasazi likely migrated and became ancestors of modern Pueblo tribes like the Hopi and the Zuni. This means they did not disappear, they just moved. The theory that makes the most sense to me is this. It was mostly caused by drought and environmental damage, followed by migration. I believe nature forced them to leave. When food ran out, they could not stay. The fact that many homes were left intact tells me that they expected to return. They took their culture, not their buildings, with them. And migration is not failure, it is survival. As I finish this research, the story of the Anasazi feels less like a mystery from the past and more likely a message for the present. They were not just an ancient people living in the desert. They were builders, farmers, artists, and thinkers who learned how to survive in one of the toughest environments in North America. They created homes out of stone, developed farming systems in dry land, and built communities based on cooperation and spirituality. What surprised me the most is that they were not defeated by enemies or destroyed by disaster in a single moment. Instead, they faced a slow challenge, changes in the environment, loss of resources, and difficulty choices. They did not disappear suddenly, they adapted. They moved, they survived in another way. Studying the Anasazi made me think about how strong and intelligent humans really are, but also how fragile our world can be. Nature can change faster than we expect, and when it does, even great civilizations must respond in a way the Anasazi were doing. What humans have always done best is adjusting, migrating, and finding new ways to live. This topic also made me reflect on my own life. Sometimes we think change is failure, but the Anasazi show that change can be survival. They left behind their homes, not because they were weak, but because they were smart enough to know when to move on. Their story is not about disappearance, it is about transformation. And finally, learning about the Anasazi reminded me that history is still alive in the present. Their descendants exist today. Their culture did not end, it continued in a new form. To me, the biggest lesson from their story is this. Civilizations do not always fall. Sometimes they simply change direction. And when we listen to the past carefully, it can teach us how to think differently about our future. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.